Now we're going to work on the back piece, which is just a simple piece that has no detail. And what I mean by that is we're going to connect the front pieces that we worked so hard on to the back here at the shoulder seams. Had we not had the pocket and dart detail on those fronts, we would have done those shoulder seams first. So right sides together. Let's pin this shoulder seam. Same for the other side. Shoulder seams now all seamed and serged. Press to the back. If you don't have a serger, it's okay. Either zigzag edge your seams or cut them originally with a pinking shears. When the fabric is ravelly, you want to do what you can to finish seams. The pattern next calls for sleeve work to be done. And then after that would come collar work. Well, guess what? We're going to do collar work first. I'll tell you why. When the big bulky sleeves are hanging off the sides here when you're doing collar work, it gets heavy and I think cumbersome. So I'd rather do the collar work all in this area, the lapel work too, and then go and do the sleeves before there's a lot of weight on the garment. So that's up next, collar. Here are our two collar pieces. One of them needs to have the interfacing attached to it. I have some nice fusible, kind of medium weight interfacing to just press right on. It's going to give us the nice crisp look in this collar that we want. Great, interfacing on with right sides together. Place the other side of the collar. And now you're going to sew around the 3 edges. That's all you need to do, is the 3 edges for now. All sewn, right sides together, time to trim seam. I go through all the thicknesses, do what you're comfortable with. A lot of patterns ask for you to grade the seam by only trimming one of the seams. What I mean is one of the thicknesses. I just like to trim both. Do what's comfortable for you. At any rate, to get a nice crisp point, you're going to need to grade a nice round corner here. Trim nice and round. Turn right side out. Work it as long as you need to get that point out. Which might entail taking a pin and carefully pulling that point out. Just take your time. Sometimes one corner will work out better than the other, and the other one will just be work. But it is worth it to patiently pick out the points, okay? Well, I feel like my points are pretty good. So I'm going to press this down now. Then just look for uniformity. You want the piece to match. Okay? Look for uniformity. Okay, open your garment once again. You got the fronts and you got this back here. It's time to attach this collar that we just worked so hard on. Great. How do you get this flat thing onto this round curved garment? Well, you just do. make certain that the fused side is the closest to the garment, and hopefully you cut your notches. And you know, if you didn't, or accidentally cut them off, or something happened to them, don't despair. You can always find the middle of your collar and mark it with a pin. And you can always find the middle of your back by doing the same thing. Find the middle and mark it with a pin. And then you would just match those two pins up. Okay? It's that simple. Don't despair when you lose the notching. And you can always get your pattern out and mark it some other way too. Just remark it. Okay, so let's wrestle this collar down. We've got it pinned on at the notches or at that midpoint that I just showed you how to do. Now make the supple front and back pieces work for you. This doesn't want to, you know, move so much or curve, but you can make the curve of the garment go flat for you. See how I made it go flat? Here's the underside, that shoulder seam. Do some pinning. We may very well be doing some readjusting of our pinning. We know that we want to be about 1 inch short. It's not going to be the biggest lapel you ever saw on this particular blazer. This is kind of a shirt blazer. I'm going to say a mix of a shirt blazer type affair that we're making here. So there. Now pin all this in between, and you've actually got half of it on already. Just pin it and pin it well, so that when you sew it, it'll be quite easy because of the care you took pinning. Okay, see? It's working out. You simply manipulate the supple garment to the collar, the stiff collar. Now let's do that on the other side. Working from the middle, the back middle. Okay, we know we want to stop short about 1 inch. According to the marking that we made earlier. It's hard to see, I know. See, it's working out. Simply make the supple garment flex to the stiff collar, and you will be just fine. Okay, that's what it looks like on the collar side. This is what it looks like on the underside. Gonna go and run your seam now, your 5/8 inch seam, all the way across. Okay, we just barely got this collar started. And at the usual 5/8 inch seam allowance, here we go. It's easier, I feel like, to have the collar on top, because then you can finger and feel what's going on underneath here, because you do have to watch out for catching an accidental pleat. So just go slow and keep checking. And I know the camera is wiggly. And finishing up. Okay, now checking the underside of where we just sewed the collar on. Everything looks good. Oop, until we kind of get right about here. Then to the end, it looks good. So I'm going to need to rip out this little area where you can see it kind of puckered. And if we were to leave that, there would be this kind of pucker area underneath here. You could leave it, but I don't want to. We're going to get rid of that. So I'll fix it. So I ripped out this small area, and this time instead of sewing this small area on this side as before, I'm going to sew on this side so I can see what I'm doing.